Hello and welcome to this historic best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video on an update to Colorless Ramp. Colorless in quotation marks. Colorless Ramp is a blue and green deck where functionally all of the deck are cards that are technically considered colorless, i.e. Ugin's Binding is the card we're showing here with the Devoid keyword, but all of the cards either directly have Devoid in their text box somewhere, making them colorless from a rule standpoint, like old ones like Ugin's Binding, or new cards like Void Shatter, and there are also cards that are colorless in the traditional sense of the word. Cards like Forsaken Monument, Mystic Forge, either the old Ugin, or in this case, the new Ugin Eye of the Storms, which is the other card that came out that made me want to update this list. But this Ugin is just another card that is also colorless and cares about other colorless spells being cast. And another sort of perk of this is that even if any of our spells happen to get countered, a lot of them will have impact on the cast anyway. So even if they get, say if this Ugin Eye of the Storm gets countered, you can see when you cast this spell clause at top, that still resolves. Same thing with like a Sowing Mycospawn, or even old school Ugin's Binding, Thief of Existence. There are other ways to sort of get usefulness out of this, even if our spells happen to get countered, which is great. But yeah, what the deck wants to do is basically play colorless cards that are relatively good, in addition to Forsaken Monument, allowing you to, we'll say, double your mana from colorless sources, although that's not technically what happens. And from the Forsaken Monument and all of the spells you use to stay alive to get you to the Forsaken Monument, you then tap any number of your lands that create colorless mana, of which most of the deck lets you do, and you cast your big, scary, colorless threats, either old school classics like the Ugin the Spear Dragon or Ulamog, or the new Ugin Eye of the Storm, or just, again, generally big, good, scary, colorless threat. And once you have ramped into it and you have the big, scary board threatening thing, you just try to then turn the corner and win traditionally, usually through damage, although it's a slow chip away kind of damage, since it is a ramp deck, and we don't have a traditional win the game immediately kind of thing going on, so you have to kind of be a little slow when you turn the corner, but you get there with our big green, or big colorless spells, I should say. Land-based, that I touched upon a second ago, are almost all colorless sources. Zhalfirin Void is just an upgraded waste. We have some wastes in case we need to find them, or our opponent plays any card like a Boseiju, say, lets you search for basics. It's nice to have waste now to be able to hit that. Ugin's Labyrinth for colorless land that can also ramp you by itself. Cavern of Souls for all your Eldrazi, your big scary things. Yavimaya's Coast, Breeding Pool, Boseiju, and Otawara are, how do I word this, are concessions to the fact that you need some colored spells even for devoid colorless spells to work. So you do need some cards that generate blue and green, which is why Breeding Pool and the Channel lands are here. But this is one of those moments where Yavimaya Coast is great. It can tap for colorless if you need it to, or can tap for recolored mana. So this whole cycle of lands downsides is much less so in this list. Sideboard, also pretty self-explanatory. Fade from History for the load of artifact-heavy decks or Enchantress decks floating around. I have 3 Rapid Hybridizations, and sometimes you just need to get rid of a big scary threat. And odds are what you're getting rid of is more threatening than a 3/3 Lizard. It just is the way that it is. And we're in blue and green, so we don't really get better options. A couple World Breakers as ways to hate on Also, artifacts, enchantments, or lands, although really this is usually an artifact or enchantment hate piece. That's also colorless, so it kind of fits in the theme of trying to keep this as colorless as possible. Another Ugin the Spirit Dragon, just for another sweeper if we need it. Scavenging Grounds as a colorless way to hit on the graveyard. Again, trying to keep the theme going. A couple more Void Shatter, since sometimes you just need to counter something big and scary. Since, for the same reason we put Rapid Hybridization, blue and green don't get a whole lot of removal, so sometimes you just have to counter the spell. Territory Color is another big kind of scary threat that if you don't that you play when you're sort of running out of gas and you need to start like not only applying pressure from the creature but also making use of the landfall triggers to draw you cards. And Shamil against counterspell heavy decks, which is kind of nice, and Discovering is nice too. And that is the basics of the list. Don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future. And if you have any sort of questions like I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice and or constructive comments, I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. With that admittedly lengthy explanation out of the way, we'll go on now to game number 1. And game number 1 with our little colorless ramp list. 4 lands, 3 spells. We'll go ahead and keep it. Not the most exciting hand, but we are... Pardon? Okay. Oh, is it just some weird mono-green devotion thing? Because Leyland of the Guild Pack does also count, I believe, as 4 green devotion. Oh well. I totally forgot what I was saying, but that's fine. We'll play the Void. Just try and scry. Get the ball a-rolling. Oh, that's fantastic that they missed a land. If our opponent doesn't do that much, we'll take it. Okay, they're here. Or do they just get, like, super... what's the word? Super greedy and kept a pretty good hand shy of land, which we've all done. Oh my god. Immediately 5 mana is, like, fucking crazy. Yeah. Void Shatter. We were gonna counter almost anything they were gonna play anyway. Cure might not be the most important, or impactful, but, you know, draw some cards. What was I gonna say before the Cure? Right. Probably gonna bring in maybe a couple of those World Breakers so we can get rid of their Nykthoses. Go ahead, play a Waste. We will go ahead and play a Sowing Mycospawn. Sowing Mycospawn, well... I was going to say, in addition to the World Breakers, we can also kick it to exile a land. I think I'm just going to pass. Part of me wanted to ramp or play the Mycospawn without kicking it and just like get a land, get into the Forsaken Monument and start that thing rolling. But it feels... Pardon? Okay. It feels like the exiling land thing is going to be actually kind of useful. I guess we'll do a Kozilek's Command. Make some spawn tokens and then scry and draw. 1, 2, and 2. Pay 2. Target me for both. Lovely. Neither of those are terribly helpful. So we're going to play the Forsaken Monument next turn anyway. We'll take it. Well, now we can also, thanks to the Forsaken Monument, the colorless creatures getting a buff. If we're going to be honest, it's not like the main reason you run the monument. You run it for the ramp effects first, the life gain second, weirdly. But also, the colorless creatures getting buffed is nothing to, like, you know, to scoff at. You're not going to get the greatest amount of use out of it, but anything that applies pressure once you again, like we talked about, turn the corner, is like a good thing in this list. Now, what do we do? That's hilarious. Oh, it's considered all colors because of it, right? Okay. I was like very confused for a second. I think we're... Does our plan change at all? I weirdly don't think it does. We're gonna kick the Mycospawn here. Now, exiling their Nykthos, so they don't have a whole lot of mana. Looking for a land. We don't really need a whole lot more mana. So I guess we can just do a Void here. See what we can find off the scry. Not going to keep that land for the same reason we didn't get an Ugin's Labyrinth off of the Mycospawn. Huh. I think I actually do bounce the Ugin, because they can't play the Ugin again. Also, life gain's nice. And if they take the trade with the Trailblazer, we're very happy. I'll take that win. It might not have been the most exciting win, but goddammit, a win's a win. Hi, Banana. Are you coming to hang out with the dad? Oop, there you go. Hello. I haven't put dad water in the cup yet, because, you know, water in your bowl is not good. Worldbreaker's coming in. Part of me wants to do Void Shatters. Do I? Do I not? Ugin's kind of cool. Wurmcoil has Death Touch, which is more impactful than you'd think. Ugin's pretty cool. Other Ugins... We're going to go down one OG Ugin, because they showed that they ramped into an Ugin themselves, so they might be the kind of mono-green devotion that, like, plays Ugin the Spirit Dragon and the War of the Sparks Karn, who I can't remember. They might be running more artifacts, is what I mean to say, functionally. Ulamog's pretty good for the cast trigger. Kozilek can be good. Yeah, we'll cut one Kozilek. It can be... The Kozilek can be good against matches that aren't mono-green devotion, since most decks have like a lower curve on average. So you can actually, I mean, as reliably as you can, use Kozilek's activated ability to like pitch a spell to counter a spell of the same cost as what you discarded. You can kind of use that against like, you know, non-mono green devotion list, because, you know, like I talked about, they're just lower to the ground. Yeah, we'll do the Labyrinth. Ugin the Spirit Dragon's the furthest away. It just makes the most sense. We can, in theory, another reason why we like Ugin's Labyrinth beyond just the, hey, sometimes it ramps on its own, which is great. The ability to hide a particularly impactful card, damn, under the land is pretty good, since land destruction is honestly like very lacking in the format right now. If we're being honest, like, I understand why. It's not really a terribly good reason to do it. Did I goof that? Should I have... I could have shocked in the breeding pool and evoked the Nulldrifter, getting the card draw. Although next turn, I can just play any land. Jesus. Oh my god. Okay, their deck's more interesting as a build. Or their build of mono-green devotion is more interesting than the average one, so that's nice. But my point was going to be, yeah, we can play any land, start looking for things off of the forge, which is pretty nice. See what we draw. If that changes our mind. Not. I think green, technically, in the entire lexicon of Magic, has access to counter spells, but not in the format. Void's pretty good. Yeah, we'll keep Ugin, new Ugin on top. Play a Mystic Forge just so we can get the card draw rolling. One of the perks about all of the deck being either traditionally colorless or, well, that's fine, or devoid colorless is that Mystic Forge sees both as colorless. Even the devoid cards, that's a very cute interaction. Both the devoid cards and the traditionally colorless card, which is great. Okay, he's ramped a lot. He deserves acknowledgement for that. Play the coast. Play a monument. Can't do anything right now, but also they gotta that helps. They really gotta pop off this turn. Fuck me, that's kind of popping off. Okay, I was kind of talking shit, but good. Oh god. What Vivian is that? Vivian on the hunt, 6 mana. Sack a creature, birthing pod. Mill 5. Any number of creature cards milled this way into your hand for a +1 also. Or a down tick for a Rhino. Oh, okay, we just lost. That's fine. Cool. They needed to hit really big there, or we were gonna play new Ugin and absolutely pop off. And that just is what happened. Do I really change all that much? My original, they do... Okay, I believe I said... I alluded to the fact that maybe they were the kind that ran a lot of artifacts in a Karnstruct or Karn kind of way. And they do that. But not so many that I think I need to bring... Well, do I bring in a Fade from History? No. We got 2 World Breakers and a Boseiju. I think we're okay. We just have to accept the fact that our opponent happened to pop off when they exactly needed to. Otherwise, I was going to run away with the game with new Ugin triggers. And as always, we go first because we have a brain. Keep that all day long. We can play Ugin's Labyrinth on 1. Exiling the Nulldrifter and playing it that heralds the end on turn 1. Don't... Okay, let me freak. I like Void Shatter as a card. It's just not doing a whole lot of good in this particular hand. Void Shatter is one of those cards that, I forgot even got added to the format, but when I saw, really was a fantastic card because it replaced that flying flash snake where, ETBs and you, for 1 mana counter spell thing. Whatever that card's called, I can't think of the name. It replaced that card as just a better version of that creature. Naming Eldrazi. It also did so... I want to say at the same rarity, but I think that Coatl card is actually uncommon, so it's actually better, which is fantastic. Circle of Dreams Druid. Okay, there's a blue mana. We take those. We attack all day long, because if they have a brain, they never take that trade, ever. Correct. They should not. So we just take damage where we can get it, and if they were to have taken the trade, we would have been happy to make it. He says before tragedy strikes. That's less tragedy. Still tragedy, though, if we're being entirely honest with ourselves. Really doesn't attack and then do the down tick. I guess he could tap, untap, tap again, but that's a very roundabout way for 2 mana. That's... I mean, okay, if we're being fair, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think the game's going to come down to 2 damage. It's going to be whichever one of us happens to ramp into the big scary thing first. In the meantime, we already have one naming Eldrazi. I think the other one is like Phyrexian Worm, right? The Wurmcoil Engine. Let's see. We can actually get rid of the Circle of Dreams Druid and really chip into their devotion. Okay, let's see. We do 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. Kozilek's Command. We'll do exile a creature and make some spawns. X equals 3. I make spawns, get rid of your creature. Auto pay, correct? I did the math right. Oh, if they have some, like, give hexproof to a thing card, yeah, then we were just screwed. But they didn't, so we'll take those. We will break into the Cure. Again, I don't think this game is going to come down to, like...
Smells fishy here.
Well, that sounds... It's not going to come down to damage in the way, like, a mono-red versus a mono-red deck would. Like, eventually damage is going to happen, but, like, it's not going to... Neither one of us is going to lose the turn because we missed, like... Or lose the game because we missed, like, a turn worth of damage. Yeah, fuck. That... blows. That really fucking stinks, doesn't it? To be fair, even if I had Void Shatter up, I wouldn't be able to cast it. So that makes me feel better. We can World Breaker, get rid of their Nykthos. You know. Of course, the game is giving him the option to tap it for a colorless mana. Which is, I was about to say, is technically, as much as you can be technically right, the correct thing to do. We don't attack with the rest of our stuff. Yeah, we don't attack with that. That's fine. He's down to, what, 4 mana, 6 if he untaps it. Which Vorinclex is this? That's the Call Time one. See, you get any counters on your stuff. Twice that many. They get counters. They get half that many. I think is the bit. Thinking of the mana doubler and halfer Vorinclex. That's fine.
Nature flows with vigor.
It's not great. Okay, just for the life gain. Okay, that's fair. That's $1,000,000. We sucks to lose our board, but it'll suck to lose, or it'll suck for our opponent to lose their board more. If that makes sense. And that's what I thought. That's why we keep the Ulamog in there, even if it seems weird. Not only is Ulamog a big scary threat that when attacks, on top of, you know, a 10-10, we'll also start to mill the library. Is fantastic for both the threat and sometimes you just cast Ulamog and get rid of some stuff and you can win the game. Honestly, that's a pretty good showing against what is one of the more popular decks. I don't know, honestly, one of the better decks in the format. And this is not an abnormal game. You can very much so get, you know, wins on a mono green devotion list. Of course, draw dependent, but we're playing card games, so all games are draw dependent. Anywho, on to game number 2. And game number 2 with our... I'm sorry? Game number 2 with our colorless ramp. My brain saw Obosh and melted for a second. The fuck is our opponent running? I love it. It may have been actual years since I've seen this card played. I don't even see this thing in Brawl as a commander. Is it like... odd mono red, maybe? That's fascinating. Fuck yeah, let's do it. I don't even care if I lose. This is awesome. I love when people try things. So is it odd mono red? That is odd. Get the fuck out of here. That's so cool. Oh, what's the next one? I thought it was any time. Yo, okay, the next creature. I thought it was any creature spell. Okay, that's more balanced. Yavimaya Coast. Huh. I think we do get rid of Kumano. And we do, without a doubt, block. We just try and block the biggest thing. If they have some sort of interaction with it or something, we just accept that life sucks. It's gonna, like, suck to suck. But it's better to be hurt and alive. Void Shatters probably aren't going to be the best here, for being entirely honest. A lot of one-cost stuff. A lot of... Pardon? Oh. Ooh, Reckless Rage. If a source you control with odd mana value deal damage to a permanent or player, it doubles the damage to that permanent or player instead. Am I crazy, or would that have... Yeah, that would have killed his creature. That's so dangerous. I mean, it worked. Good on you, but, like, that's so dangerous. Okay, that's fine. We're in some trouble. But we're just going to try and live as much as you can. This is such a weird thing to counter, but I think it's really important. We're in that moment where, like, I was going to counter literally anything being played. Like, that stinks, and that sucks, and we're probably going to lose now. Yeah, that's fine. But I maintain that, like... How do I word this? Let me do this first. Hybridization, you're in. Another Ugin, you're in. Void Shatter, really expensive to do not a whole lot. You're out. Mycospawn's kind of useful, but not the most useful. But it's just a body. Maybe we do cut. No, we can cut one Forge. We don't want to lose any life more than we have to. This is one of those games where a Kozilek actually works. Well, Kozilek can work. I'm going to assume they're not just running only one-cost spells and keep the Kozilek in. But we only saw one-cost spells and, like, a three-cost spell. So I'm going to assume there's more higher up on the chain. So we're going to keep that in. I honestly think this Ugin's a little weak. Like, yeah. 6 mana to just destroy a thing is just a little too slow. Ugin's one of those... Ugin the Ineffable, because now I have to specify, is one of those cards that's, like, better in slower matchups. Maybe not, like, hard control with lots of counter spells, but, like, another deck that's trying to just get a lot of value, you could really mess them up. We play first because we have a brain. I'm going to keep this. I don't love the idea of putting the Ugin in his Labyrinth, I guess. But we got to try and ramp. Normally, I wouldn't mind hiding a thing in the Labyrinth, but, like, red as a color does have access to land destruction, so you got to be a little careful. Is it... Your deck contains only card... Yeah, okay. In that case, we'll breeding pool and pass. I actually think I attack, weirdly. Because I actually very much so want to keep the Herald alive anyway. We're going to play the Void next turn. Or we... Actually, maybe not. I think we might keep the Void where we can use it. That makes me feel better about attacking with the Herald. I value the ramp right now, and I expected them to have some sort of combat trick. Oh, this is a very awkward place to be in. That being said, I might not have an option but to start blocking, actually. Which, like, really stinkers. What do we do here? I guess it is, because they're not going to counter anything. I think it is just weirdly a void here. And just try and look for, like, answers. Monument is actually not that bad. Hang on, let me... We're going to keep it. Right. Okay, what do we do here? We have to block with the Herald. Yeah, we have to. If we don't, we die. And we'll play the Monument next turn, which will hopefully let us turn the corner with both Ugin... My god. Makes me feel better. Oh yeah, we have to block this all day. I'm actually going to block the Monastery. Trample means that more can get through. Yeah, we're going to... Yeah, I'm happy to have blocked with the Herald here. Play a Forsaken Monument and just hope you don't die. It is the only mechanical option you have. Another Void isn't going to be the most helpful. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is not dead. 6 is not dead. Huh. How much mana do I have access to? Blue, 1, 2. Sorry, blue, 1, 2. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7. I think the answer... Hang on, let me QQ here and tap all my mana. Do it like that. Okay, so 11 mana. 3 plus 7 is oftentimes less than cool. Synthesizer is just the best thing to bounce here. Sounds silly. But we're gonna do it. Playing an Ugin. On the cast trigger, I am gonna exile the Nemesis. I will Ugin's Binding to bounce the rest of the board. Next is just gaining life, drawing a card. Another Ugin is a fantastic draw. I think we've turned the corner. I think we did it. Now, I think it was like yesterday in testing. I think I died in a moment like this to like a mono red deck running a Hidetsugu's right that deals like, what's it like, if your opponent has 10 health, deal exactly 10 damage or something like that. So there's, which I loved that had happened, but that's the only way I think I could die, and luckily they spent mana, so we're not dying to that card. Feeling pretty good. Do you attack the Ugin or do you attack my face? This is the $1 million question. Soul Scar is fine. Attacks the face. Oh, okay, that's fair. Okay, light up the stage. See what we draw. Both from draw on turn and the uptick draw we're going to do with Ugin here. Soul Scar. That's a waste. It's not helpful. Ugin draw. Ugin's Labyrinth is... Oh, what am I doing? Return Ugin from Labyrinth. Play Ugin. Downtick for 1. Probably scoop. Sure. Oh, it leaves battle. It's not just... I mean, hooray, we take those win. I did forget... Yeah, Synthesizer is not a destroy. It's just leave the battlefield. That's pretty cool. It didn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things, but that's good to know for future reference. Because that is... I mean... When I say that's a card that you'll see play... That you'll see played sometimes... A lot of those, like... base Rakdos sacrifice decks just kind of don't exist a whole lot in the format, in my experience. But when you did, like, that's a card you'd see run. But even like Boomer Jundlist, like, don't run that much sacrifice stuff. But anywho, two lands, but I have a scry and a thing to do on turn 2. I also draw for going second. For being entirely honest, it's actually not that bad. If we can find a blue source, we're cooking. That's not a blue source. Neither is that, but that's a land, so we're just going to take the win. I will admit there's an argument to be made that I should have, like, mulliganed and looked a little harder for, like, a quote, an actively better hand. But let's just take the win. Get that Heralds. See what we can do. Love that blue source. But still very much love that blue source. Kozilek's Unsealing would be nice. Although even with a Nulldrifter, that would just draw me a buttload of cards, which is nice. I think we take that block. That's fine. That's kind of a blue source. Although, really, we're not doing it for the blue source anymore. We need to do Thief of Existence just so we, like, have a body. If they attack with the Nemesis, we take the trade, even if it means the Nemesis turns off our life gain for the rest of the game. Again, this is one of those moments. Better to have our life gain turned off and be alive than have life gain and be dead. Yeah, all day. All day. He might have one of those red buff spells that he showed earlier, but that wouldn't let... Okay, the Nemesis would die. Oh, it lives. Oh, what is it? Oh, it's the monster roll that's +1/+1. Okay, I thought the... I mean, I should have paid attention to the first time it was cast. The roll part never enters my brain in decision making. Oh, that's just the game. I don't think we come back from that. Yeah, there's not mechanically nothing we do. Oh well. Yeah. Okay, I got a little greedy, and kept a bad hand, and that's fine. But we're happy with that. And to be fair, I mean, one, their deck was and is fantastic. A mono red odd aggro deck is fantastic, and I love the deck. It's not an invulnerable deck. Sometimes a good, mono red aggressive deck is gonna kill you, and that's a good, healthy spot for the format to be in. I want that to be able to happen, and it's even better when it does. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you would like to see my grab bag of content in the future again. And if you have any sort of questions like, I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice and or constructive comments, I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. Thank you all. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.